Wait. Now it's recording. So basically, welcome. All right. This podcast is called the Meltdown, and I've run it now for close to maybe 8 months. You guys are my 13th guest, which is quite interesting.
Lucky.
Uh,
Um, and yeah, I usually try to pump out maybe 3 to 4 episodes a month if my health is fine. This time it's been a little longer because I couldn't do any episodes in November, but or December. But at least now we get to do one. And yeah, basically I started off in the scene in Dubai, but then I started to expand and interview bands from India and other countries as well because they sounded more interesting, you know. And then I came across you guys who looked like a crossbreed between like 10 prog bands that I heard. So I was like, okay, we'll give this a shot too.
Great.
yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Why is he on mute?
Let's go.
You know, all of this is going in the recording, right? I don't do any edits. So any funny shit that happens stays in. Like literally, like I've had edits where the screen has gone off or it's kept recording while a dude went to the bathroom and came back. So people have had to wait till he came back because I don't tend to do edits. I leave that raw so that it flows much better. I don't have any like set questions or any of that crap either. I just keep it normal so that my guest is comfortable, you know.
Hmm.
Because if I start asking set questions like how did you get into metal, blah 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 blah, it gets very monotonous, and I don't want that. Because at the end of the day, when I'm putting this on YouTube or Spotify and shit, I need an audience to stay interested. You know.
Hmm. For sure,
So
man.
we'll start off with the world's most boring question, which is, how did you all get into metal?
Who wants to go first?
Nikhil, go first.
Anybody can go first at this point. Doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. So, with me, I was, how do I say, like, I got like a pen drive with a bunch of songs from my cousin brother, and that this is like back in 2000, like what 7, 8 ish, I think, or even before that. So it had like songs all the way from like Bob Marley to all the pop that was going on in that period, and then there was Linkin Park with Meteora and Hybrid Theory, and yeah, I pretty much fell in love with like Faint, like because that's the only song with the proper scream, or
Yeah.
like in their album or something. And yeah, I started listening to or started searching for songs in and around that region, and then I like YouTube fastest double bass songs ever, and then I ended up with some pretty gruesome death metal songs, like straight out from Linkin Park, then just fucking death metal. Yeah, and I guess here we are.
That's one way to do it, right?
Yeah,
But you were playing drums before this, or no?
yeah, I was playing drums, but yeah, I was pretty like into what people are listening to in my region. I think, like, regional songs and all that.
Hmm.
So yeah, one pin drive can change your life.
Hey man, at least it was a pen drive. I had a homework diary. You know what a homework diary is, right? So,
What's that?
so like the diary where they tell you to write your homework down for the day. Yeah. So
Okay.
my friend who used to play bass, he was big in metal and death metal and all of that. So he showed me, what did he show me? I think he showed me Old Arch Enemy or some shit like that,
Hmm.
which I remember now. And we took it from there. Then he gave me a list of like 500 bands and he said, you listen to all of this and then come back to me. I'm like, okay. And that's how I started. I didn't start with your traditional Slayer and this and that, and all of that. I got into that the other way around because I went death metal first and then I went everything else. But then death metal stayed with me, so I stayed in death metal. See?
Yeah, nice.
Ah, yeah, man.
So who's next?
Siddhant, go for it.
I don't know, man. I found mainstream music boring, so wanted to explore subgenres, subcultures rather, and that's
I
where
don't
I
know why,
landed.
but he looks like somebody who listens to like depressive, suicidal black metal in free time and then listens to everything else later.
Oh, you got me wrong then. I'm not that it.
No, but how did you start then? How did you come to doing vocals and things like that?
Because being an Indian, we are surrounded by Bollywood music, and I found that crap. Mainstream music is something which is absolutely does not have any depth in it. There's no originality, which is why I wanted to explore something which has more depth, more essence, uh, something to look back. So yeah, that's where metal came into perspective.
Fair enough. And you too?
Okay, who wants to go first? Mine is, I think, a combination of both Nikhil's and you, our interviewer, Mr. Sid, your experiences. So, the place where I come from, it is a twin city. So, and both the cities have very different musical culture there. One of the city was where the other cities where I didn't live. There it was completely alt rock and punk rock and emo. It was complete. You could see like some seventh grader kids like wearing those eyeliners and emo hairstyle and roaming around and shit. Okay, so I got introduced to some 41, Simple Plan, and Blink 182 and Green Day and all those. Avril Lavigne, that was going on, right? And in my city, somehow kids were much aligned towards death metal like let's say Cannibal Corpse and the Cradle of Filth for that matter. Okay, it was just going because the hype was such around them,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
and thanks to I think some local bands that were into death metal scene, which inspired the local kids around it. Right, the band was called Alien Gods. So that was happening, and so when in our school there were kids from both the cities, right, and we had one thing going on where the rough notebook comes in the picture. So we had a rough notebook, and in the last page we'd just sit down and write names of different bands for fuck's sake. And from there, I got to learn about different bands. Like, oh, what is this Cannibal Corpse? I've been reading in every last page of every other kid's notebook. Let me go find it out. I first heard that I was like, fuck, this sounds like vomit. I can't do this shit. What is this? Is this even music? Okay, and then someone introduced me to Linkin Park, and through that, Breaking Benjamin, Korn, and all those things started coming into my playlists. And then suddenly one day, so I slowly got into Maiden and everything. Then Opeth randomly came into my playlist, but it was not one of the heavier songs. It was Harvest, the most clean Opeth song. I was like, wow, what is this voice? This is so masculine and so this and that. And I loved that song. It took me some time to get used to with that song. And then the cyber cafe was new to us. So I went there and searched for Opeth, and then I found out this song called Ghost of Perdition, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is like big balls in front of my face. Like this is the epitome of death metal. They do death metal. Oh my god!" I was like blown away. I had like that kind of thing going on. So then that brought me into many more different kinds of metal and so on. So yeah, that's how suddenly from every level to Opeth happened to me.
Now, for me, my first my introduction to Ackerfeld was very different because my introduction to Ackerfeld was Omnius Blood Vomit, Bloodbath.
Bloodbath.
So I knew he could do that, and I was not used to cleans with Ghost of Perdition. So when I heard Ghost of Perdition the first time and he started singing, I was like, "This is coming out of the same person." Because I've
Yeah,
heard
exactly, exactly.
because I've heard him do putrid shit. So I was like, interest. Well, which city are y'all based in? Like, I know.
So three of us
No,
are from Bangalore, and Nikhil is from Chennai.
yeah.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Because comparatively to the rest of India, Bangalore has a scene. Even Northeast has a scene, but that is mostly slam and dirty
Mm,
stuff. You know.
yeah. Hardcore.
Right.
I mean, I enjoy my slam very much. Slam makes me very happy. I hear gurgles and I have fun. But
Mm.
usually when stuff like Bangalore Open Air happens, like I think you guys got Ulcerate this year, right? No?
No, no. Ulcerate was not part of the Bangalore Open Air. It was just an Ulcerate tour.
No, no, no. But they had a concert. Ulcerate had a
Mhm.
concert, I
Oh,
think,
yeah, they did. Yeah.
and they really cut the throat of God that time.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, that was probably like the best band I've ever seen. You know,
Yeah, because I
and I've seen a
mean,
bunch of bands, like good bands, but
I
this
mean,
was
think
like
about it. They're one of the few
something out of
bands that they're one of the few bands that has a lead drummer. You don't have that.
yeah,
Ever.
100%. Yeah.
So, um, one more story is left, right? Who's this boy
Yeah.
now? Yes.
Yeah, I'll just cut it pretty short. It's almost like I think everyone has covered. I think we have common threads. That's why we are playing in a same band. Like to me,
Mm.
again, it started from new metal. To be very specific, I started listening to Limp Bizkit, Korn. Uh, these
Corn, yes.
like if you go to that particular album called Results, may vary from Limp Bizkit.
Mhm.
I in those days we used to have this Walkman with cassette size to get those stuff from my brother. Yep, I used to like laugh a lot on Cannibal Corpse. Me and my classmate. Again, I mean, in future he was our vocalist at that point of time. I so again like that's how it went. From Cannibal Corpse, and afterwards when we started the band as a tech death band, we used to cover Cannibal Corpse. I mean, few years
Mm.
back, and we used to laugh. We started by laughing, but we ended on doing those kind of stuff. But again, like to be very, if I have to be very precise, playing guitar or listening to metal has already always been something totally different and very inspiring, because there were few people from my friend circle who were totally closely they were associated with this kind of genre, especially extreme metal. Like one of my childhood buddy, like he introduced me to Necrophagist at that point of time. And when they were already out with Epitaph by 2004, if I'm not wrong. I
Yeah,
don't
no.
remember, right? So yeah, I mean, after listening to Necrophagist, then I started exploring those extreme metal genres like Decrepit Birth, or name anything. Like then I started going back to Death, because I mean I used to go through their concerts like Dynamo Festival when Death used to do all this stuff. But yeah, extreme metal, new metal, both they were not meant to meet at that point of time. I mean, I started with new metal and it went, and it was like a boomerang. I think missing out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was my journey. Like then I formed my band over there in Calcutta before coming down to Bangalore. That's used to be called Evil Conscience, and that was a tech death band. At that point of time, we released an EP from Slaughterhouse Records, and those record label is from Utah. Then during 2018, I came down to Bangalore, and that's when I contacted Siddhant, because I think by that time, 2019, if I'm not wrong, at that point of time, Siddhant released one vocal playthrough, and that was from Meshuga.
Mhm.
That was the only video, and that's how it started happening. I contacted Siddhant when we both met for a cause. We were supposed to do some tribute show in Bangalore at that point of time. That was for Gojira, but it didn't work out in that way. And me and Siddhant, we were pretty much depressed of the fact that, picking up 8 to 10 Gojira song within 1.5 months. I know, I mean, for a fact that drummer needs to play a huge role when a band is planning to cover Gojira, but it didn't work out at that point of time. Then Ksetravid started shaping up, like we were thinking of how to define ourselves. But again, starting with the first song, we can't define our song in that way. Like that's
Yeah,
when we started contacting different bass players, and drummer definitely came into the picture afterwards. So yeah, that was the whole journey, actually, to be very honest.
no, but it's interesting to see how your sound has progressed because, I mean, the new song that you dropped, yeah,
Yep.
that I
Yep.
that I heard, you could see a lot of different influences bleeding in, like
Hmm.
it's definitely it's a tech death song, yes, but at the same time, there's a lot of nice prog influences in there, you know.
For sure, yeah.
Vocally, also, it's got that very faceless, very Meshuggah-ish sound coming out. You know, it doesn't have Michael Keane singing clean, which is okay. But that's fine. But like,
But you know what? Michael Keane is again coming back. I think a few days back
yeah,
he got
yeah,
his.
he posted recently that he's
Right.
writing new pieces. So it'll be interesting to see who he gets this time. Because
Yeah.
the last time he got the guys from Abigail Williams to come and do vocals. The only band I'm
Right, right.
actually interested in coming back now is Skeleton Witch because it's been too long.
Okay.
It's been too
Let's.
long. I mean, last year we had Job for a Cowboy drop a bomb, which
Right.
was very good, you know.
Mhm.
Then you had a shit ton of underground stuff, which was also very good. I mean, I practically live in the underground now because mainstream drops way too many records. And then, of course, underground drops even more records. So in a year, I listen to only about 500 records. And then when people tell me, what's your favorite record? I'm like, I don't know because there's so many.
Right.
But like, are you all currently writing for a record or are you all just planning to drop small singles?
No, the singles plan is pretty much over. So,
It's
so
over. Not pretty much.
yeah.
It's over.
The
Done
thing
that.
is, yeah, all the singles that we've dropped is going to be part of the album, but there are a bunch of other songs as well that we're planning to just hold on to, just for releasing it as a record by itself.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Like a small EP, I'm guessing, or a
No,
companion.
no, it's gonna be
8.
eight, eight, 8 songs, 8, 9 songs, yeah, something around, like, including like the other smaller bits that come in between songs and all that.
Unless. So more
Yeah,
ambient.
so yeah, something like that. And yeah, we're just building towards it, and yeah, man, like hopefully by this year, mid of this year, yeah.
Yeah, because y'all, when I heard the song, the fresh one, I'm gonna that one sound. At first, I was very confused because I mean, y'all sound like a tech dead band, but there is also some gent in there. So I was like, wait, what happened here? Because I come from like the tech dead school of like your necrophages, uh, beyond creation, all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
Even Zoth or who else is there? I'm not going to drop Oxfire because Oxfire is too recent and everybody's like, oh my god, fastest band on the planet. No, doesn't matter. I mean, they start doing neoclassical jazz every time, so I'm like, no. But Yeah, for me, like when it comes to metal, I enjoy my tech death. I enjoy my slam. I like a lot of ambient shit because I like
Mm.
prog. I like shit like this, you know. So, and for me, tech death is a very sweet spot because there is, of course, melody and there is everything else, you
Yeah,
know.
I
So,
agree.
so I enjoy that, and because I like progressive stuff also, sometimes when tech death goes prog, like Psychroptic does,
Psychroptic.
Psychroptic,
Yep.
yeah.
so that also piques my interest big time. Like
Mm.
I'm very excited for new Obscura also, which should be
Oh yeah.
very
Right.
interesting. Uh,
Mm.
one band that I enjoy a lot is Alkaloid, which is the offshoot of Obscure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. And it's
Yeah, because they're fun, you know, they're proggy and fun. Ulcerate is like something I would listen to just, you know, have a sit down.
You should listen to Alluvial. It's
Yes,
the evolved version
of
of
course, bro.
the
West
Psychroptic.
Side, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he used to play with Mikey Kinnigan in Faceless.
Faceless
Right.
bands.
You remember
Bro,
it? That's long
Faceless
time back.
Faceless has the turnover of a restaurant, you know, 5 days later, one member leaves. No problem. So so that's a whole different situation. We'll talk
Right.
about that later. But for me, one band that I look forward to now is actually Entheos with Cheney Crab
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
okay.
you're 100%. Yeah.
because they're very fun. It's a fun sound, you know. And
Yeah. Like
with
looking back at the older.
with Copper Ice doing everything, it's like as if they came out of the ashes of animosity, you know.
Mm.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
I like how Siddharth is just looking at me like this fucker knows his death metal. Good.
Yeah, interesting.
No, but yeah, for me, like bands like you guys interest me a lot, you know, because there's so much variation, so much fun. I mean, death
Have you
metal.
have you heard most of our tracks, like, or is it the Animus is
Um,
the let?
when I reached out to you guys that time, I had heard one song.
What
So,
was that?
huh? That time
What was that?
I heard the new one that time.
Okay.
Uh,
After that, I
Allow
went back and heard the other catalog because then I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, let's try what else they have. And then one friend told me, try exploring Northeast Slam scene. And I was like, oh shit, okay. And then I went towards like syphilectomy and all that. And then he gave me bad news and said, syphilectomy are no longer together. And I was like, are you shitting me? Why? This is fun.
Got it.
So, I mean, like, I like all my ectomies, you know, hymenectomy, tracheotomy, epicardectomy, all that fun stuff is just, hmm. If it ends in a Tommy, I know it's good. That's how I categorize it. Then, of course, since you guys are a tech death band, I'm sure you'll enjoy a lot of cytotoxin. Yes?
yeah.
Kind of. I won't say I would love it, but yeah, I've heard few tracks. I mean,
Bro, cytotoxin is technical brutal death metal.
yep.
Love their vocalist.
The guy looks like Arnold. Okay,
I swear.
he looks like Arnold could lift 10 tanks and come back. That's what he looks like. And then when he's on stage, he starts machine gunning you to death. So that's a whole different situation.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy them, and I do enjoy Disentomb as well. But Disentomb slows things down.
Mhm.
Cytotoxin amps things up. But both of them have really interesting rhythm sections. Because I like tech death where I can hear clean bass. No, that's why a lot of tech death that I enjoy, I prefer to listen to fretless stuff, like your first, like
First
like
fragment.
your first. Yes, yes. What a record they dropped, bro. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah, crazy. In
Yeah.
fact, Beyond
So
Creation's last album, they were, I think they were using fretless bass, right? Beyond
they
Creations,
use they use fretless in all of them. They use
all of
fretless in
them.
all of them. They use fretless in all of them.
Yep, yep. Hmm.
They've never used anybody who hasn't used fretless. But the guy from First Fragment used to play in Beyond Creation.
Beyond Creation, right? Yeah, Dominic, I
He
think.
used to play.
Oh yeah.
Yep, yep.
Forrest used to play for them. So going back to the band now, because we discussed every other band. So uh, like, how did you all find your sound? Like, this is the type of sound we want to go for. Because obviously, you all must have experimented with different types of sound, right? You might have gone like the necrophagist route, you might have gone any other tech death bands route. So, how did you all decide that, okay, we want to do something that combines gent and tech death and other things and this and that and make it unique? How many years did that take? Oh,
Well, I think we are still this close to finding our sound. I'm saying this because, let's say, every other song sounds very different from each other. We have been trying things out. Mostly not even trying things out. We went by what sounded right to us, and with every song it changed or evolved, for that matter.
I think it was a matter of having our influences just kick in when we are writing.
Right.
So, I mean, initially, like right before I joined the band was when we had dropped Man-Made Crisis, and then like I started playing with them. Back then, it was that was a more I'd say old school way of writing stuff, or at least yeah, that's what I felt. And then like once I came in, we wrote Static Belief System, which was like the other end of the spectrum, which had like clean vocals, spaced out things like more proggy, and it was a completely different sound. And then we dropped the Third Eye, which was again like somewhere in between both of these songs, where it was like faster and a little more brutal, yet we had like a few spaced out sections. And so we slowly started like how do you say funneling towards the sound that we wanted. We still are, like we're still getting there, and I think the more songs we write, we'll keep on evolving towards it. But I don't ever feel like a band would get to that point. Like no matter which band you like, the biggest band there is out there, I'm just saying the biggest band, they whatever records they write, it still sort of like flows. They don't have the same sound, like because people's thoughts change, and the way they like listen to music, or like they think, or like what's going on around them, all of this like sort of affects how you write music, right?
See, if you keep pumping out the same record every time, it's gonna get stale at some point, right? At least.
100%, exactly, right.
But then again, the caveat of that is there are certain bands who somehow manage to still do that, and people forgive them for it. You know, like
I think that's like a very small percentage of bands, maybe.
yeah, because the thing is, what happens is when they try something new, the public is like, no. So it's
Yeah.
better they go back to the formula and pump out the same shit because that works, you know?
Right.
But at least with
I
you
think
guys,
to think of it in a different way is like start pumping out different shit each time, so you have different people listen to you, and you can't not have like play differently every time. That's also a different thought process, like in my
no, you
opinion.
know,
Where
that was actually one of the things I noticed about a lot of bands, like big bands, like for example, say you take something like Bring Me the Horizon. Okay, Bring Me the Horizon started off in what? They started off in deathcore. Now look at them, right? But what they did was with every single LP, the changes were very minute. So when you heard the record, it still sounded like old Bring Me the Horizon with subtle changes. People's ears got
Exactly.
used to it and they managed to go with it. So every time, subtle changes, and they kept going with it. Now you take something like Rivers of Nile, who put in sax, that changes things as well because they started adding sax to Tech Death and making it sound like it could work. Then other bands started doing that. So I think what usually happens is, like, for example, when producers, I won't say bands, I'll say producers and record labels see a trend that works, they tend to want their bands to ape it. See? Do you feel like that is something that, say, uh, the record label that y'all work with would want y'all to do in case they have someone on roster who works? Because every record label has a roster, but certain bands manage to reach those heights that other bands do not. And then they, because they see the dollar signs, they want every single band on the roster to go towards that. Unique Leader doesn't do that, but Metal Blade and Nuclear Blast do. You see what I'm getting at?
For sure, yeah.
So what do you think about it?
As a band like Ksetravid, we are not signed to a label as such, and we've been doing this mostly almost all the time independently. And whatever we put, like, say, we think about writing, it comes fully from us, you know. There's a producer, as in our mix engineer is our producer, but most of the time we give him the end product, so there's not much of a, how do you say, like, writing process involved as such from his side. So it's more of, say, 95% or more, even 98% of him just mixing and mastering the record, and all the other things have been from our side. And whatever we feel, only if it's 100% working with how this track would progress, it's only then approved, you know, and then it goes on to the next step. Without that, it really doesn't matter, as long as we like it and we agree upon it as a band. Not
Fair enough.
none of these other things matter, I feel. But again, like, when it comes to record labels, it's a whole other process, right?
Do you all want to say something? Because everybody is quiet.
No, I mean, like how Nikhil was saying, yeah, he's totally. I mean, I'm totally understanding from where he's coming from. So basically, whenever like we are writing any new song, we are trying our level best to explore ourselves. Okay, like I mean, we can't. I have heard few bands. I mean, I don't want to name. Uh, Probably if you listen to their first track starting from their album, and if you go like in that chronological order, 1 2 3 4, you there would be some point that you will feel that okay, it's a bit monotonous maybe. But I'm the kind of a, I would suggest that I want to be a good listener. So whenever like I'm listening to our own stuff or whatever we are writing, that again, that's my personal approach, how I listen to music. Like how you mentioned about the Bring Me the Horizon, that they slowly through years they have evolved. Okay, right now if you see them, like they're one of the best metal act. But I mean, people might say that okay, they have commercialized, they're very popular. I mean, they have been experimenting with the sound, and definitely coming from this background from India, we started our journey from 2021 during the COVID pandemic time, and after releasing 4 songs, I mean, definitely after releasing first 2 tracks, we are, as Aruna rightly mentioned, we're still knowing that we are trying to know ourselves that what we should be writing. Okay, there is nothing like, okay, a restricted formula or a rules or a particular pattern that we need to follow, or maybe we are doing tech debt, we should follow this kind of stuff. It's not at all like that. And we don't get this kind of idea that, okay, maybe a record level or maybe a targeted audiences who love to listen to this sort of tech debt won't like our sound in that way. I feel that we somehow use the elements. Definitely, I feel that any sort of form of music, like starting from jazz to electronica, if you get any sort of opportunity where we can fuse electronica with Indian classical instruments, where the tech that definitely has to be there because that's our common ground. We can actually go forward and approach. I know that that's a pretty bold move. It has got loads of risk, but again, we will have to. We can't keep the same thing going all over again and again. I feel that, with our new songs, whatever we are writing, we should be learning something from that, and our art or our creation should create us at the end of the day. Because see, after a while, once we're done with this album or with our life, we won't be there, right? This whole record will be there, right? So it's a huge responsibility, definitely. So I feel that if we can try to mold more listener and try to incorporate this kind of idea where the listeners can have this kind of flexibility that, okay, I do listen to old school tech death, but I do enjoy genres where tech death is also fused. Like if you listen to Genjestron or like avant-garde bands like Igor from France, I've been listening to this kind of artists where they have been very experimental, bold, and also it's also about the dynamics of the band. How, like, I should, or rather we emphasize or focus on our positive traits. Like I'm still learning everyone's positive traits, so that we all four can work on our positive things and we can definitely call it as our own product. So product has to be, it should evolve with time. Like we can't sit in that same zone. And you might have seen many bands writing the same stuff again, like Whitechapel for that matter. Like, I mean, they released their new songs, right? Perfect example.
Whitechapel is a whole different situation, man.
Again, that's what
Whitechapel is a whole
no, so that's what, so they
situation.
again went back what they used to do. They
Yeah,
have
I mean, you hear the new song,
More
you hear the
brutal, right?
toilet bowl, and you're like,
that's what,
yes, that's me in the morning. Who's else?
because they know for a fact that that was a thing that which moved them as an entity in the whole metal market, like globally. But again, that might be the phase that the band decided, okay, we need to experiment for a few years, and maybe afterwards we'll again get back to that. It totally, I think it's the dynamics of the band and the decisions which should come from our end. But definitely, as Nikhil was also mentioning, that the producers comes a lot later in the song, I mean, as in the
whole
project.
equation, yeah.
Yeah, when we are writing stuff, we will definitely try to listen to the producer as well. But the very beginning, like right now also, we were writing few stuff from the afternoon and on. But again, like, we are most welcome if Nikhil wants to use tabla, and if he wants to incorporate any kind of things, like, it's most welcome. Like, you should not be thinking that, okay, I can't, I should not think in that way. That is
Yeah.
what, like,
And I think tech dev, for that matter, gives us that kind of a liberty to explore fearlessly, right? So, I mean, tech death could sound something like Necrophagist, tech death could sound something like Fallujah, tech death could,
cynic.
yeah, or Cynic for that matter, right? It's rightly what you said. So, we are still at the exploration phase, and personally, I love that phase when we explore. Every song sounds different, and the amount of iterations that one song goes through. That, okay, this is going. I love this part, but it's not sitting with the song. Let's scrap it from the song, but keep it aside. We'll use it somewhere else. And when we write this other song, we're like, oh, you remember that part we used in this other song? Let's um, let's just meddle with that and see what we can come up with. So
It's
as
very agile. Like it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
in a project management terms, I would say it's not predictive. It's iterative. It's incremental. You can say it's adaptive. That's what.
And whatever comes out, I think it just it's fine.
And there is no creative limit.
Yeah, 100%.
Like we had such a difficult time trying when someone came to us like, "Oh, bro, I love your song." This and that. What genre are you guys from? What is this genre? And like, man, it's very hard to define. It's harder to define the genre than writing this stuff in the genre. So I don't know. We could call it tech death. And like, no, this doesn't sound like tech death. This sound like something. I'm like, okay, we just call it metal then.
Yeah, at this point, there's like 50 million subgenres in metal. So
Yeah, I swear.
I'm like, metal is, because like for me, I wasn't going to gigs for a bit because in 2024 I was in the hospital twice. Once because I broke my hip at a gig, right?
Oh,
Shit.
man.
So gut slit came and I ended up in the mosh pit, landing in my hip, and the hip broke. So I wasn't going to gigs for some time. And then now this. So last few gigs I went to, I saw a few proggy bands, I saw a few tech death bands, and that was fun because, like, I saw old bands like Stigmata or Evil or whatever. That was fun. But for me, like, I'm the type of guy who enjoys stuff like, I don't know if you know this band, but they're called Illustrium.
Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, they basically are also a tech death band, but
Okay.
what they do is they tend to tackle mental health, you know? So
Oh,
the themes are
interesting.
mental health, and you should maybe explore that as well because, like,
Yeah.
for example, since y'all are an independent band, y'all seem to be going more the route of, say, a Brand of Sacrifice or something like that. Because Brand of Sacrifice is independent right now, and they tend to have orchestras and choirs and this and that. And I mean, I'm sitting through a breakdown, and then I hear some random lady singing choir, and I'm like, okay, this would. So, so that would be nice. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So actually, in lines of that, I think uh, for the record as such, we're trying to say have some sort of a limit within like experimentation, and we want to make that record sound like a record, right? It's not like a compilation of songs.
Yeah.
And the
Nobody needs to do that.
exploration part, like the more we start like widen is when we're starting to write the next record or the next EP and so on, even like for the matter of like how Bring Me the Horizon does it. I'm not saying we're doing it the same way, but once we have the entire end product, we are back with a clean slate, right? And we can like draw whatever we want. And the minute the pen drops on the board, we have uh we have created like sort of a small, not like a big boundary, I would say, where we start exploring within that, and every time we start like writing new stuff or new records, we put the first dot, and then there's like an imaginary boundary that you can see. Okay, here, this is what we have, and we can definitely explore. And the boundary is definitely bound to like change, but it's not going to break, is what I'm like trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, you guys mentioned Necrophagist, but nobody mentioned Spawn of Possession.
Yeah.
Nobody mentioned that, and I was sitting here like, I came from that side. So I was like,
What's your best record? What's your best record from Spawn of Position?
all of them, buddy. Spawn of Possession. Speaking of them, they actually formed a new band now. Forgot the name. Hang on one second. Let me tell you. So they formed a new band that dropped a single. Shit, where is it? This is what happens when you have way too much music. Oh, yeah. So the new band is called Retromorphosis.
Oh,
And it's basically ex Spawn of Possession members who have come together again. I mean, imagine this is the year that you're getting new Nevermore as well. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, like for me, like tech death is something I very dear. Makes me happy. Makes my parents very unhappy, but that's a whole different situation. Because they think that, like for me, when I first got into metal, my mom and dad used to think I used to listen to music meant for animals. My dad told me that. He was like, "You listen to music meant for horses." I was like, I didn't know how that works, but okay. So, but I mean, they still think I do listen to music meant for animals. That's a whole different situation. But yeah, I mean, when I was going through university, also for 4 out of my 5 years, I never really told anybody that I used to listen to metal. What I used to do was I used to sit in my car and just have a jab, and then go back to class. And then in my last year, I was like, yeah, fuck this. I'll show people metal now. So I started showing people Fallujah and all that sort of stuff. I started showing people, of course, Necrophagus, Obscura, Alkaloid, many bands. And their ears started opening up because these people were all like EDM and trance and all of that shit. And I was like, try this. This is more palatable. So they were like, oh. And now some of them listen to heavier shit than I do. So, hey, you know. So, in terms of vocals now, since Mr. Vocalist has been very quiet this time, we'll ask him a question.
Sure, let's go for it.
So, are you going to have more highs and lows, or are we going to get some nice gurgles? Because to understand, I like gurgles. Gurgles make me very happy. The more putrid, the better.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, for the upcoming song and for future music, definitely as a vocalist, I think I have to explore all the octaves which I can potentially do, and definitely the low ends and the highs are something which is definitely in my pipeline and where I'm working towards. I think my sweet spot is definitely the mids. And,
yeah, I noticed because there were a lot of mids in new songs. I was like, we getting gurgles? Are we not getting gurgles? We getting gurgles? Are we not getting gurgles? And then I was like, we're not getting gurgles, but this is fine.
you might get girls in future because I'm working towards it, and also the music requires me to have more low ends and high pitched screams and things like that. But if I talk about tonality, I think I'm more a Jens Kidman.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that because it sounded very much like it. Like this looks like you. Oh,
So yeah, I think that is my sweet spot, something which I'm comfortable doing. However, the whole idea is to come out from the comfort zone and experiment and explore like other levels as well. So definitely,
yeah. I mean, if you put in some tunnels in there, I will be very happy.
sure. I mean, working towards it.
Yeah. No, because like for me, the lower it is, the better it is. I like my dirty music, Like if I flash at home, my mom will be like, what is this? Like I remember once by mistake, I put on some Crown Magnetar, and my mom was sitting right there, and she was like, the fuck is this shit? I was like, it's fun. Then she left the room, and I was like, so.
I think we all got that from our parents. One day something similar happened, and what was I playing? It was not even like some crazy death metal. It was one of those angry emo music, like Bless the Fall or something. Okay, which screamo music, something like Bullet for My Valentine or one of those things, screamo stuff. And I was really young. I was in my school, 12th grade or something. And my dad, he's a musician by passion, and he's like, why are they angry all the freaking time? There are
Oh,
many more different emotions, you know. There
yeah.
is happiness, there is this, there is that. But
Little
all
did they
the time
know,
they
Anger had
don't
50
want to,
million
they're all
subgenres.
angry and swearing all the time.
No, for me, it was the opposite. So I had this phase where every school year I had a different ringtone because back then we used to use Nokias. So everybody had their own song for a ringtone. And for me, I had a very long Heaven Shall Burn phase. Okay. Because Iconoclast 1 came out and I was like, yes. So for a long time, I had like a dying ember or black tears as my ringtone. So every time it opened with that opening scream, everybody in my class got scared, and my teacher looked at me like I was some demented soul. I was like, yeah.
For the longest time, my ringtone was the Hallowed Be Thy Name, but by
Cradle of
Cradle of
Filth.
Filth.
Cradle of
So it
Filth
starts
version.
with motherfucker.
But
Yeah.
then,
Oh
who is
man.
your favorite vocalist? Like, since we were talking about the vocals, like,
I have many depending on the genre. Like
like gurgles. Let's talk about tunnel throat vocals,
Let's talk about
okay.
girls.
gutturals.
So if we're talking tunnels and gurgles and all that fun stuff, I like I like Malika Sundaramurthy a lot because
Right.
her emasculator shit, holy crap. They made a bhajan sound good, bro. Okay.
Right.
Like literally I heard that and I was like, maybe I should try. My mom would be very happy if that happened, but anyway. But yeah, like she does very good stuff. Her husband plays guitar in Epicardian, if you didn't
Mhm.
know.
Right.
So her son might end up playing in another Tommy at some point. Um, and of course, in the males, I mean, you can't go wrong with Mohammed. Okay, he doesn't do it anymore, but still, at least he's pumping out BMWs while doing tunnel.
Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, like there's him, there's Steven, there's the dude from Oxpire who raps too fast. Like, like literally, who puts out a lyric video where the lyrics are so fast you can't read them? Like, I remember when I heard what was it, involuntary doppelganger or some
Doppelganger, right.
shit like, and
Yeah.
I had to put the speed at 0.75 just so I could read what the fuck he was saying. And then I was like, oh, he's saying words, but these words are too big. Because imagine like motherfuckers sitting there with a thesaurus and reading it, and I'm like, okay. Sorry, we swear a lot on this podcast. It's rated R for a reason. And all of this
Okay.
goes in, so it doesn't matter. But I keep all my bloopers. Sometimes what happens is when I'm doing podcast, you'll find my dad walking inside, my dog roaming around. You'll find all of that in the episode, and I keep all of that. I don't do any edits because it makes it more fun. I remember when I shot my first episode, my cleaner was doing floor cleaning at that time, and he came and said hi to my guest, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll do this too." I kept it in, and it worked.
Crazy.
So yeah. So how soon are you all pumping out stuff? Like next year, next to next year, the mid of next year? What tentative timeline are we looking at?
It's going to be this year. This year mid, the album drops in.
Oh, so you guys are aiming for summer. Oh no, actually that's monsoon.
Autumn? That makes sense.
Autumn is a
I
bit.
think summer.
I've only known
okay.
summer for like 12 months a year.
Trust me. Over here we have summer for 90 months a year. Except certain times it becomes like 52 degrees and you're like, shit. So that is that. When it hits 69, I will know, but that's not happened yet. But yeah. So in terms of like, I don't have any more questions now. That's why we just yap. But like from last year, do you all have any records that you all go back to, or that you all have enjoyed, that have been like the records that you're like, yes, this is the record I like this year?
Yeah, I think Zenith Passage is something all of us would have thought already.
So which one was it?
It was
I couldn't hear
the
what you.
no Zenith Passage.
Oh yes, yes, they came back very well.
Yeah.
For me, it was in between Job for a Cowboy and a black metal record. Because I was blasting an atmospheric black metal record for like 6 months in the year because my job tends to be on the road a lot. So when I'm sitting in the car, it's when I get to blast records because nobody's sitting next to me and I can do it myself. So usually what used to happen was if I had to drive, I would blast this one particular atmospheric black metal record or the new JFAC record because I waited too long. Like I aged more than that record came out, so I got sad. And then when it finally dropped, I was like, yes. So
I think there's another
of course.
album. Of course, I think
It
you know
doesn't
Panzerfaust.
Petra?
No, Panzerfaust.
Ah, yes. Panzerfaust came out towards the end of the year.
December. Yeah. It still counts as last year.
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
Of course it does. I mean, like for me, I heard a lot of like underground shit as well. So for me, I think one of the which one is it? So I think probably the record that I enjoyed the most was probably the new Goodness record or the new Defeated Sanity. Defeated Sanity was fun.
No, yeah.
They did some jazz stuff that blew my face off. So that was nice, And I saw them live, fresh
Yeah.
out of hospital. So that was an added bonus. I mean, the funny part is, I went to a Defeated Sanity gig where kids were allowed, and I could see little like 5-year-olds headbanging to brutal death metal. What more do you want? Yeah. I mean, but tell me something, in this day and age, a lot of people and a lot of bands tend to especially big bands. I'm not going to name specific ones, but a lot of them, what tends to happen is that they tend to become singles only bands. Understand? Where when it becomes an LP, it does not flow at all. The singles do very well. They do astronomical numbers, but the LP, nah. That's a trend that I have been seeing now. And I think it's more to do with the audience response as well, because, like, after COVID, I'm sure you guys noticed as well that a lot of bands and metal itself got notoriety because of stuff like reaction channels, Finn McKenty, all that, amped up metal. Finn McKenty is another situation. We can talk about that later. We'll talk about that when your actual music comes out, because that will be a very interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah, I think the whole trend. I mean, we cannot blame the musicians, but the availability of free music, right? It's available. You don't have to really put effort to go listen to someone that you love, right? You just open Spotify or whatever that streaming platform you're using. Like the numbers are endless. You listen to endless music, so that also put the artist on the rat race of releasing more and more content. And you probably can't most of us won't release an album in like a month's time or something. So you end up releasing more singles, like whatever comes to your mind, write down, do some edits, arrange, produce, and just let it out on the thing.
No, but
So
also,
when that happens, obviously the broader picture go for a toss, right? Goes for a
but
toss.
also,
And
think like people, they have a shorter attention span, so they don't listen to LPs as
But
often, because
LPs, they are not more profitable or productive anymore, because if you listen to an entire album, or if you take any band's album in Spotify, you'll see like first few numbers or one of the most famous songs, they have the numbers going on. Rest of the nicer stuff or whatever, it's just collecting dust.
yeah,
So for most of them, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to release an album altogether and then not get credit for each one of them for the effort that they put in, right?
certain bands have very interesting release strategies nowadays, because what they tend to do, like certain bands, what they do is they release the album in a range of singles. So every song becomes a single.
Mm-hmm.
Hype, and people stay interested. And then you,
Yep, that's called waterfall strategy. Like,
Mm.
see, I think Smoker was the first artist to start this. I think that was pre-COVID, 2018 or 2019. So he was like, they were releasing singles again. Like as you rightly mentioned about the attention span, it has reduced so much. Like we don't, because of the current trend.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, as
people,
Arnav rightly mentioned, like out of 8 songs or 9 songs, if even if you think from our perspective, like we already released 4 songs, now we are thinking of not releasing any singles. So I mean, we are definitely getting this kind of notion that okay, maybe there are a good number of songs which will come at one shot. What about them? Like maybe those songs require more attention. I'm not saying each and every song has a meaning, has a story to be, you know, to convey. But again, like this is something which we need to also maintain some sort of like a balance, because we are maintaining the balance of the old school way of releasing a proper LP, keeping something in a surprise for the people who has been following us. So, but yeah, this is something, these are the pros and the cons. So that is something which we need to deal. And maybe this is 2025, down the road after 5 years during 2030, it would be totally different. Maybe there won't be any concept of LP, like
I
people
think
will be
it's
only
I think it's
investing.
changing. I think it's changing all the time, because
That's
even
what.
if you because now, yeah, in metal, especially underground, there's so many people who are one-man projects.
Right.
Like in November itself, I heard a one-man death metal band, okay, who was doing caveman death metal, like proper dirty death metal, but he was doing it in Mexico. So the artist's name was called Stenched, and the album is a name that is too long to pronounce, and I already forgot it. But the album was very good. But what ended up happening was each record that he made only had maximum of maybe 6 to 7 songs. Nobody does 8 to 9 or 10 anymore because nobody has the time span to sit down and listen to it unless you're sitting in a cab. People like literally. I remember I used to watch people listening to music, and what they would do is they would just turn it on as background noise for when you're studying or some shit. I mean, I used to do the same thing. I'm guilty of it. I used to do that, but I used to do that with Bellwitch, which works. You put on Bellwitch's 84-minute long single track record, and you can do calculus to that shit. I know because I got an A at the end of it. Okay?
Yep. So we are actually in the middle of it. So yeah, but we can't help it. Like
No,
have to go with the trend and definitely have to maintain the balance.
Now, if you see how it is with social media, also people are more interested in making shorts and reels, and now even
That's what's
like you can upload your song to your profile, and I'm like, how the fuck would I want to do that?
True.
I
So
mean,
for any artist right now, like who's releasing an album, right? They're basically in two minds. Like they could have released the all EP into like singles, and maybe while they're at the stepping stone of their career, right? When they want people to know their music, they would do that. So instead of doing that, if they try to follow the traditional way of releasing music in today's time, with people with audience with lesser attention span, somehow they also feel that okay, I think I'm putting my songs in a risk of being unheard for the most part, for all you know, right?
and also the problem is like finding the right date, because certain months are very heavy and certain months are very dry. So
Mm-hmm.
finding the right date to release your album is very important, because what happens with me is, because say I listen during the year, I listen to how many records? 300, 400, something like that. So when people ask me, what is your favorite record? I'm like, I have 70 favorite records. What do you want me to say? Like literally, I got asked 2 days ago, what is your favorite record of 2024? And I'm like, you really want to know? Because even I don't know. I heard so many. You haven't heard any of them. So what is the point?
Right.
Because like literally, the way it works here is the scene is quite small. And it's a lot of people who aren't really exploring the scene as well as it should be. The musicians, no shade at them. They're doing the best they can. But casual listeners who go to gigs tend to just thrive on nostalgia. So we have more like cover nights and jizz fests of
Bollywood.
nostalgia compared to anything else. Like for me, I like listening to new stuff. So anytime new records drop, I'm like, try this. This is good. But then I get the same people who share like 45 million corn songs that they've shared every day for the past 5 years. And I'm like, you know, no shade at nostalgia. Nostalgia is good. But at the same time, if you want the scene to evolve, you need to share the new stuff and show people that this is where it's going, because the underground is not getting any recognition for that. They pump out their records on relatively unknown labels or by themselves. You do it on Bandcamp. People don't even buy the record on Bandcamp. And then you're like, eh, so I tried, you know?
Yep, true. But again, like we'll have to proceed with that. This is something we need to accept.
I think the major challenge being in India is that we have to develop the scene from ground up, because
No, see,
uh,
just the scene. You have to develop the perception also. Because you have to understand India is a country that runs on perceptions. We have predisposed notions of what metal is. Unless that changes, younger generations will accept metal, but older generations won't. Because what schema they have here of what metal is has continued for generations. You know? Until we learn.
It also depends on the kind of notions they keep, like the generation before us and the generation that came after us, right? I've seen that they have one notion that music is something that should make me happy. It should speak of happiness or anything but anguish or anger or whatever. I heard my father say that, why does your music speak so much about angriness, angst, or violence or whatever? Same thing I heard from my students, like who are the very young kids who come to listen to music, and I introduce them to like some fun music, or when they want to learn rock music, I, let's say, give them anything, let's say Linkin Park for that matter. They're like, no, I don't like this music because it's violent or it's making me angry or it gives me the angst vibe. And that's exactly what happens with people in the country. They would listen to every festive song. Every Punjabi song is a festive, right? You're like outrageously happy for whatever reason. Be it you met this soulmate, or you just found a girl to be very cute. You write a outrageously happy song. Everything is so happy about
Yeah,
it.
I think the concept wise, like how Indians have thought about entertainment as such, has always been, say, love or trying to find
very
happiness.
crazy.
It's like, yeah, it's like, walking off in the sunset. That's how movies should end for them. It's not like how Defeated Sanity ends with a jazz lick, right?
Bro,
I think art is fairly good
that
audience.
shit made me very happy, okay?
Exactly. Like, unless people think of happiness is not the only uh like thing that you're going to chase after. Like, there is other things happening in your life, and when you accept it is when you live happily. Like, you find the
I mean, that's why I guess people like us, we vibe with metal, right? Because it says everything that we want to say, but can't necessarily say in society.
exactly.
Right, true.
Yeah.
To that,
I mean, let alone scream it out, right?
absolutely.
Gurgle it
Yeah.
out for all I care.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
tunnel it out.
But
Yeah.
but I feel like metal has always been an underground sound. It will always be underground,
Yeah.
no matter. I mean, we need to accept. I mean, definitely it talks about the emotions. The people might come up to anybody and to musicians who are into metal that why are you guys screaming or anything like that. Okay, so again, like there are different shades. It's like the food. It has a test, and they have the targeted audiences, and definitely it will evolve. Coming back to the point, bring me BMTH, how they evolved. Okay, I mean they started with deathcore. Now they have commercialized this sound. But again, like if you compare with other genres of music, whatever it's selling in the market, like people who doesn't want to give a thought, they just want to have fun. They just want to blast. They will definitely not treat metal in that way. They want music to be like used as an entertainment.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm trying to say, right?
I mean,
Maybe I'm having a dinner with my partner. I'll play some soothing music, some romantic stuff, some pop numbers, something from Justin Bieber, I will definitely not play something, because even for a fact, I mean, my partner might not like it. So this
No.
is something where we need to also focus. Like, it can never go, it will always be underground. That is also
So,
something which we need to cater.
so for me, I had a very interesting experience where a friend of mine who's into K-pop actually bought me a ticket to sit through a virtual concert. So I sat through said virtual concert for 2 hours, and I contemplated my life for 2 hours. After that, I returned the favor, and I showed that said person Mirror Reaper by Bellwitch. And I guess that was the best thing that I did, because now said person enjoys Ulcerate, which was interesting.
Damn.
That's a social exchange, which is
Fluid,
great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
very
I
fluid.
think what also happened is for us, right, growing up in the um Karan Johar Bollywood world, right? So music had a very different purpose for us, also for the working middle class people, right? They'll slog all day long, and once they come back home, they probably wouldn't want something that projects anger because they have already gone through. And this is my father's words, not mine. That's what I
Oh,
heard
yeah, yeah,
from
of
him.
course.
Right. So that makes sense to them. Now coming to, let's say, how I got introduced, or most of us got introduced to metal, right, was not through metal. It was through some or the other form of rock music,
Yep.
right? Like breakdowns from Porcupine Tree gave me way to Opeth or whatever.
Yeah.
Even Porcupine Tree was much more advanced for me. Like I came from Linkin Park and Limp
And
Bizkit and
what
Korn.
point
Right?
is still
But
advanced for
rock
many
right
people.
now is dead.
Okay. Like,
Rock
like,
is dead. There is no precursor to, like, you can't give an opposite side of the spectrum straight and feed them and tell them "Ki, this is good. That it doesn't work that way. It's an acquired taste, and for them it has to go in a step-by-step movement. So how I introduced my students to metal was through bands like Breaking Benjamin, or maybe Rush for that matter. Okay, give them like the overdriven things, and then give them land them into distortion guitars and Pantera and whatnot.
no, but
So that bit is completely
Steven
gone right
Wilson,
now.
Steven Wilson shits out a ton of quality. Every couple of years, it's like, okay, I'm gonna shit out a record, and you get whatever that is, and you're like, okay.
And then there are bands like Baby Metal that's really bringing the thing back. Like when I
Yeah,
first I was like, oh my
yeah.
god, what is this? Then I saw people are doing like crazier mosh pits than, let's say, cattle decapitation in Baby Metal. And I was like, okay, I think the younger generation would love this kind of stuff, and that is like a gateway to greater metal.
Yeah, but see, that is the thing. You have to understand. With bands like Baby Metal, there is no message. There's none of that crap.
Nothing.
Carol
It's
Decap,
exactly like Bollywood, let's say.
yeah, Carol Decap is a whole another situation because they start parading veganism in the middle of the concert, like
Right, right, right.
all animals and da 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 da. Da. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need a lecture on how to eat salad.
Yeah.
Like literally, like they do the same thing that Behemoth does, which is why Behemoth has fallen so far from grace. Because like you've got shit like Garia doing Behemoth better than Behemoth. Okay. So like, and then you've got Nurgle just going on stage, doing whatever the fuck he does, and then going on Polish TV the next day and being like, hi. I'm like, this motherfucker broke a Bible on stage today. I'm like, yes. So I mean, it depends on the whole concert experience too, I guess. Because if say you take somebody like Bloodywood, yeah, which has exploded, what they've basically
Mhm.
is that they've introduced the wider world to Indian culture in a way that is fun. You know, you take the new song which they did with Baby Metal, or you take the one that they filmed inside a metro train. I've never seen people
Yes.
headbanging inside a metro train before. And then on top of that, you get the one random white guy bringing his camera all the way through, and you're like, okay, that works too.
That worked for most of our Indian artists, even Hanuman kind for that matter. The video with the what do you call Maut Ka Kuan thing, right?
Mountain of Death.
Right. So when we bring out the Indian things in the more fun and palatable way, I think
I feel like, I mean, metal being an underground sound, if we can incorporate stuffs which commercial bands like pop bands usually use it as an element in the video, that is
I mean,
something which most of the bands
I
are
mean,
doing.
people sort of relate to it more, so that it sort of like
Yeah,
pulls
Correct,
in
that's what.
yeah, I mean,
by itself.
like literally people, right, what they're doing is slowly they're integrating culture, right, to show culture. Like,
Right.
I don't know if you know this band, but there's a black metal band called Sour or something. They're Scottish black metal, but they put bagpipes in there and whistles and all that sort of stuff in black metal. It's usually one guy, but now he's got like five people. And then, of course, if the theme of your music is fun, then people will run with it too. Like, for example, there's another UK band. They're basically called Sluggage, okay? And their whole philosophy is around snails and slugs. But somehow they make that sound good. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just vomiting music on you guys right now because I heard too much. Anyway. But yeah,
I mean,
like
when it comes to philosophy, I think I like Gutalax.
Good, Alex. You've seen, I'm sure you have seen.
bro, Diarrhea Hero?
Alex.
Yeah, sure, of course. You know, I have like literally in our scene too, we have a resident diarrhea hero here too. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do any of the gurgles and stuff, but he does diarrhea on us occasionally. So that is different. It's verbal, it's not literal. The day it happens literally, I'm gonna be scared. But anyway. So yeah, I think we'll end there. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was fun. We will chat more often when you drop more stuff. And I will try and make you laugh more as well.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh,
so much, man.
my pleasure. I don't get to talk to tech death bands so much. So when I do talk to tech death bands, I go everywhere. You know.
It was
Thanks
really
a lot.
fun.
Thanks a lot.
Amazing. Thanks a lot.
You know,
Wish you a quick recovery, man.
for me, like making y'all comfortable is my number one priority. I'm already comfortable, so might as well make y'all comfortable too. Because I don't want people to just sit there and be like, yes, this is how we write music, blah 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 blah. Blah. I don't want to know that. Like, I don't need to know you use 4/4 or 6/8 or 6/9 or whatever. My audience is not going to relate to that. Instead, I prefer to show the personality of the people behind music. You know? That's more fun. I mean, we can talk time signatures and all that, but 90% of the audience will be like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Makes sense. Of course.
Cool, then.
I mean, I can do that next time, but then the conversation won't be as
Yeah.
fun. Instead, we can talk about more of the new stuff that you put on. Like, for example, you throw in a bagpipe here, a dholak there, or some other shit like that. Then we have stuff to talk about.
Harmony code, man.
Oh,
So
here.
this reminds me of this band called Clown Core. I'm sure.
Oh, bro. Clown? There's Clown. The Clown
We'll
is so
try to do that in Indian toilets. Pay and use toilets.
big.
Lotaku.
That's gonna be
Love
Was-
core bands.
Was-
Core band.
Wasn't there a grindcore band that filmed an entire album in a van?
no clowncore was not a
Yeah,
grindcore.
No, not
clowncore. Some of it is grindcore. They did.
I mean, clowncore is everything.
that's.
Yeah,
I
They
was
have
like,
more difficulty defining their genre than us.
the guy was playing clarinet while driving said van. Okay, you don't get more fun than that. Like literally, when in the world are you gonna see a guy who's simultaneously screaming and then serenading you with clarinet the next minute while driving a van? Does that perforce next? I will be very interested. So yeah. That
we'll
was
try to do some sort of like that definitely in future.
Yes.
But first we need to drop the album. So definitely we'll catch up for sure.
oh for sure, for sure. I what I will do is if I can, I'll get some of my non-metal friends and host a listening party and blow their faces off. And then we'll be
Lovely.
okay.
Yep. Thanks a lot for
Because-
thinking. Thank you.
Hey man, the scene grows, I'm happy. Okay? That's how it works with me. Because at the end of the day, metal has given so much to me, I'm giving back. You know?
That's
And
wonderful.
and plus, with the amount of underground shit I listen to, I give back because like every week, yeah, when the underground stuff drops, I'm sitting there on Bandcamp like yes, 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 yes. Oh fuck no. Yes. Okay. So yeah, that's what I do because usually since there's so much shit that drops, every month I sit down and I find 5 Bandcamp records that I'm like, yes, I can do this. This I can do. And then when somebody asks me, what's your favorite LP of 2024? I'm like, look at here. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you all enjoyed. We will catch up again when you drop the new stuff and I get to crack more jokes.
Absolutely.
What I will do is if I can, I will upload this tonight because of course I don't do any edits. So whatever has happened here, including Arnav's screen going off for like 5 seconds, all that is going in. Okay?
But
I
sometimes
don't, so it's fine. Yeah, what I will do is I will put these on Spotify and on YouTube because Spotify plays video now, which is very interesting. It used to not do that before. I might put it on Apple Music too. So once I've done that, I will send you all the links, and then y'all can use the footage, make your reels or whatever, promote that way. Because I remember when I interviewed Septicile or somebody else, they told me, can we please use your footage? And I said, yes, of course. There's errors in it, but that doesn't matter. So, yeah.
you should start doing a music review channel or something. It'll be fun. Like I like the way you talk.
Oh, at some point in time, I actually wanted to be a film critic, but as life would have it, I became an engineer. Sometimes I still forget I'm an engineer. So there is that. No, actually, I forget I'm an engineer every day. So there's that. Because primarily my day job is being sales engineer for a interior design firm. But I enjoy everything else way too much. So
I think that's with every engineer.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for coming, and we will do this again for sure.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. I wish you a quick recovery. And
Well, yeah, I get these out tomorrow, so I think I'll be all right.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, because they were like, "Sir, you have 35 stitches in your head, so please make sure you're okay." I'm like, yes. Anyway, that makes it sound sad. We're not going to end on a sad note. But yeah, thank you all for coming. I have other bands that I might interview later on, so keep a watch on those because every single episode is linked on the YouTube page, and I do update on Instagram. Y'all are following us at Instagram, so any updates for upcoming episodes will happen there. I will definitely try and make other bands laugh as well, so that will be fun. All right.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Cool. We'll do that. Thanks, man.
Cool.
And
All right then.
Take
Well,
care.
take care.
Take care, buddy.
Take care, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much.